So yeah,
we should do that. 7 years old kids should have to go to a summer camp all summer and just go do jiu-jitsu and striking and stuff. Just 3 months.
No. Well, you know what? Forget gym. Just replace gym with grappling. End of story.
There you go. Yeah. No more dodgeball.
Yeah. No more badminton.
Thank you.
I think they're curling now, Brian. I think that's what they're
curling.
Just make sure we work it out with the schools where they have to send them out for gym to our academy. So, and with a little state funding as well. You know what I mean?
There you go.
Yeah.
Make it work.
Hit on that a little bit, just the Agoj and being someone who does have Greek, bloodline and just kind of give the viewership and audience just kind of a, quick synopsis of what the Agoj was. And
yeah, it's kind of the concept, and that's what we've mirrored our business, our coaching business out of, is this concept that you take young men and you put them and now men, because I think we've come so far off of what manhood is and what masculinity is. So now we're having to like indoctrinate 30, 40, 50-year-olds back into manhood, right? And how they should treat their bodies and how they should live their life. So I took that concept from the original Agogi, which was essentially the Spartan training camp to become a Spartan citizen. And they would take them very young, and it was, let's not get it twisted, man. It was gnarly. They were they weren't treated well, and they were sent off to feed on their own and lie, cheat, and steal and go, catch animals. But the whole purpose of that was, as a society, was to harden these young men and to create warriors out of them. None of them were victims. They didn't complain about anything. They learned how to treat their bodies. They learned how to be warriors. And that was you got to understand, that was a warrior society. So they did, from a very young age, they taught them, and they would wear, little to nothing or loincloths and out there in the dirt. Could you imagine doing jiu-jitsu just in the rocks in the dirt from the time you were a little kid growing up?
Sounds amazing.
Think about how fucking hard you would be. I mean, we roll around in our Gucci Gis and our nice mats and our fans and all of our other bullshit. These guys were rolling around naked in the rocks, trying to do, trying to kill each other, and
we're missing that kind of rite of passage. We're missing that.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's something that one of my mentors, they have this Squire program, and I love, and it takes a man and a young man that's right at the coming through puberty, and they have this like set, I think it's a 48-hour event or something like that they put them through this rite of passage with the father. And awesome. we don't do that anymore, right? We're so, as parents and as adults, we're so soft ourselves that we don't want to put our kids in an uncomfortable situation to get them to grow. Now, that's not everyone. There's a subsect of my community, and I'm not saying military, I'm saying my community of men that really are passionate about teaching their young men and their kids hardship and getting through hard things. And you see it through teaching kids how to get into an ice bath and to control their breathing and to stay calm. Little things like that, hikes, taking their kid on a hard hike in a hot day, when they're crumbling mentally. But what does that do? What does that do? It's all part of the Agogi, right? Like that's what it was. It was to harden your body and to harden your spirit to where you were anti-fragile. And we don't do that. We're all concerned about, we don't want to hurt their feelings. Well, what happens when they're an adult and then true hardship happens? You going to worry about their feelings now? No. Like, they have to survive. You're preparing your children to survive. Same thing with jiu-jitsu. You put them in jiu-jitsu, and we've seen it. We just had a great, Tyler put on an amazing kids comp at Crest. And you saw it there. You saw kids cry and break down, and you saw kids be triumphant. But it was that hardship of, taking a 5-6-year-old and putting them up against somebody where they're trying to kill them, And how else do you learn a lesson like that as a 6-year-old? It's amazing.
Well, I mean, so you also got to talk about like, successes, right? Successes build that confidence. Even the failures, you learn from it. And those successes build confidence. And if you're not starting that at a very early age with kids, where are you building that confidence, in that?
Right. 100%. And the self-efficacy, the belief in their abilities, their own free will to autonomously create a life that they're desirous of based off their own grit and fortitude, not coddling them, but letting them know that there's no one fucking coming to save you but yourself, right? And developing those coping mechanisms from a young age, I fucking run away a lot because I enjoyed living on my own. I enjoyed breaking away from, the dramatic household that I was in. And I spent a lot of time just in the woods, like learning how to make fires, how to make lean-tos and shelters, and, kind of putting myself through that own rite of passage. And it shaped in me a lot, and it enabled me to have those coping mechanisms, and I think if we could do nothing else as positive male role models, it's to inspire the youth and the next generations coming up that they are capable and they're not fragile and they're not as, victimized as they think they are, because this whole victimized culture is literally crippling society as a whole.
So I'd like to get all your guys' idea. This is my half-baked. You ready? It's not a half-baked idea. I've had this idea forever, and I want to do it. And eventually I will. I'll figure out how to get it done. But I've had this idea of taking young, and we've all come across some sort of young man that's like, you're just like, you see him and you're like, oh, this kid's soft. Like he's just soft as dough, man. And you see the potential, but you just know that he's not being mentored the right way, right? Like he's just, every time he, whatever. Anyways, so I have this, I'm like, he needs to go to man camp. I want to create this thing called man camp. Maybe it'll eventually be the Agogi, but it's for young men. And I'm talking we're talking 8 to 16 years old. Mm-hmm. And for the summer, you go out to the woods, we shave your head, and you live in the woods. And you build lean-tos, and you make fires. And exactly, you grapple. You have to go. It's all rudimentary. Like you want something, we build it. But it's an entire summer in the woods with limited to no internet, no phones, limited electricity. You're bathing in a river, but you shave your head, 3 months in there, and you're just doing you're learning archery, shooting, lean-tos, fires, fighting, all the different skills. Go to man camp. Now think about a kid who is a little soft. He lives in our nice houses. We have the internet. We have Xboxes and all this kind of stuff. And he lives like that for 3 months. Mm-hmm. What happens at the end of that 3 months when he comes out of that? What kind of kid is that after 3 months?
Probably wouldn't even want to watch TV.
Yeah, you're hoping he wants more of it. Let me tell you, my summer camp, my grandfather was a commercial fisherman. Yeah. My summer camp, when I was starting around 8 years old, my parents used to ship me off to my grandfather's, and me and my other 3 male cousins would have to go fishing with him for 2 weeks straight. Like that was our summer camp on a commercial fishing boat.
I think and man camp would probably sell out. I think, I
think so too, man.
Down. Went to school for education. Sign me up. I'll be a counselor.
That's right. I think you have your instructors right here on this call, man.
Right. Right.
And hey, we can talk about shooting guns. I just got a new one. I love shooting guns.
Yeah, right. And it's Tyler. It's specifically with being an academy owner. I mean, I don't know. My experience, I think jiu-jitsu still got a long way to go to unite as a community. I think it's still too cliquey. I think it's still too, not even, I mean, to the point where I don't even think jiu-jitsu will ever be in the Olympics because of how, privatized and everything's about the profit. But I think as far as a community and being an academy owner, we're seeing all the topics we're talking about, growing the youth of this society, because everybody's got this, victimized mentality, or when it comes to supporting the military when they get out, people that are serving as police officers that need more training. I think jiu-jitsu's got a long way to go still, but that's why I also think there's a lot that still can be done. What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. I'm just focusing on, like you said, our community. I try to keep it small because I know those are the people that I can reach in front of me most likely. But anything that I could do to get it out to as many people as I can is super important. But I do have to agree. It just, there's a lot of division. People don't really want to come together. Some really do. And it's really good to see. But it's difficult. It's super competitive, and it's come from another culture, that when the Brazilians came over, and then the Americans, it kind of bump heads a little bit from time to time. But, if we could bring that unity for the sport, I think it'd be a game changer. But I think it's going to be a while for that.
Yeah, I mean, specifically in Long Island, New York here, I mean, even just talking about West Coast versus East Coast Jiu-Jitsu, just in the culture of the academies, it's like, a world of difference. I feel West Coast just seems to be more about people training with each other. And you see that on the East Coast here in New York. There's a lot of schools that are still very like, just train with your own academy and things like that. Yeah. But I think the West Coast is more kind of like open to training with everybody else. And I feel like if you're paying tuition and you have your home academy and you're supporting that, you can train wherever you want. We don't own our students, you know what I mean? So like, I think that mentality, once we get out of that old school kind of like, you're a trader if you train anywhere else kind of thing, I think that's going to be more of the growth of the sport.
Don't we even have a name for that?
What's that?
Don't we even have a name for that student that like that?
Oh yeah, the creance, right?
Yeah,
creance. Yeah. Oh, we've heard that plenty. Trust me. Yeah.
Yeah. No, 100%. Even in our small community, there's a couple of small academies, and some of them we have open mats, and we tell everybody bring, anybody's welcome. Any academy, any gym, bring your friends, whatever. Somebody wants to come try something, whatever you want to do. Just come through, right?
People that started that jiu-jitsu, that they train jiu-jitsu nowadays within the last few years don't realize how it was back in, when I started in 1999 and got my blue belt in 2001. I mean, you were a trader. You can get your ass kicked if you ever went to another, the academy down the road to even train with your buddies. That's how bad it was. It's even to this day, you still see that. There's a lot of schools that you need still permission. You need to go to your professor and ask permission to train anywhere else. I mean, it just blows my mind.
If you went to train with another academy, you had to go to your buddy's garage and roll some mats out. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, don't tell anybody. Don't tell anybody. I don't want a professor to find out.
It's a very closed-minded perspective that I hope is being broken down and is kind of encouraged to train in other academies. Obviously, be loyal to your home base. I'll always be loyal to Soka Brazilian. Alexander Soka, he's a brother to me. He's a professor. Who awarded me my black belt. I will always be loyal to the Gracie Jiu-Jitsu lineage, but at the same time, living 2 hours sometimes with traffic away, it's hard for me to train at my home base academy. And so it is important to network and have a multitude of different academies that you can train at. Obviously do so respect and be an ambassador for your home base, be an ambassador for your sport. And I think that's what we need, man. We need more unification, less, honestly, egotism, because that's what it comes down to. People feel insecure to train at other gyms, even if it is an open mat, and more acceptance. Jiu-jitsu is for everyone. It's for, my friend Anthony Sraldo, who's got cerebral palsy, who doesn't have the function of his two legs and only has use of one of his arms. It's for, the person who's a triple amputee. It's for everyone, and we need to embody and embrace that so that everyone feels included on the mats. It's not just for the jock and the athlete, it's for the single mom raising 2 kids by herself, who maybe is coming from an abusive background and wants to learn the skill sets so that she can protect herself and her kids from harm, and so the more we embody that philosophy, the more lives we can change, and the more we can grow the jiu-jitsu community for the positive, right reasons, not for the money grab, not for the ego, not for the power, not for the fucking drama, but for safeguarding and helping those in a myriad of different ways. So.
Yeah, to touch on that, man, jiu-jitsu it's a team thing. It's a family thing. I love all that aspect, but it's your journey, right? Your thing. If you go find, growth and happiness at another place, then I'm more than happy for you. If that's the case, I don't know what we wouldn't have to help you in that way, but if that happens to be the case, by all means, go grow and in the sport and in your mind and in all those things somewhere else. You have my blessing, right? Because it's it's your thing, right?
Yeah.
I'm new. I'm like, my journey is very, very young compared to all of you guys. But I'll say this on the thing about, if there's anybody listening that's in where I sit, you're coming into this thing and you're new, you're a couple years in. I absolutely love my home base and who I support. Like that's my foundation. That's my rock. That's where I'm going to grow up into. But man, because I travel so much and because of the media that I get to do, everywhere I go, I try to make it a point to go train somewhere. And every single time, and there's been some, a lot of great experiences, a couple weird experiences, but in the grand scheme of things, every single time that I've gone trained somewhere else, I've got with Gareth, I've gone to Kansas City, I've gone down to South Florida, I pick up something completely different for my toolbox, and I'm able to come home and I'm just that much better, that one technique better. So, I would say don't be afraid to go. I mean, it's a community, and you'd be surprised how welcome you will be if you just walk in and be like, "Hey, I'm traveling. Can I jump in a class? Or can I train here?" And I mean, almost every single time that I've done that, everybody's like, "Yeah, come on in, man. Let's welcome. Who are you and where are you coming from?" And it's a very positive experience. And I always pick up that in the military we had tools for your toolbox, and everywhere I've always gone, I've always picked up one little tool for my toolbox that helps round out all the other little things that I have going on.
That's how it should be. That's good to hear.
Yeah.
And I also realize how awesome my gym is when I
when you come back. So you mentioned a good point, Tyler, about the even though we're a team, right? You're in a team. It's an individual journey, and when you're out there fighting or competing or you're rolling, it's just you. You're dependent on you, and that's a totally different aspect about most grappling arts, right? Or, even martial arts and other sports out there. And it's a different mindset too, when you're only dependent on yourself in the situation.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I like that. There's something that, Tyler told me, and Jocko did a real good talk about that too, is everybody's jiu-jitsu journey is their own. Mm-hmm. And, my path to blue belt or to the next one and all the way to black, like that will be my experience, my path, and my journey, and you can't reproduce that. I can't say, well, this is the way it is for you. No, you can't say that. It's my path and my journey, and what worked for me and where I go is completely uniquely. I'm a unique snowflake in that arena, right? Like that's mine and yours, and I guarantee if we just went through the line here and talked about everybody's path, it would be completely different, and your skills to each belt would be completely different. And I think that that's something that people need to focus on, kind of going back to even the law enforcement guys, and why it's like what Tyler said is brilliant about the time, because their journey is all going to be different. You can't box that into one package with check boxes. You know what I mean? Like it really is just a journey, and it's a beautiful one too.
Yeah, I want to get a quick. I was on my mind like there's a lot of need, for there to be more types of retreats and events, but I want to get you guys to shout out a couple of different, either organizations or events that you guys have done already. Like Gareth and Nick, you guys did something in Montana. What was that kind of a retreat thing? Like what was that about?
Yeah, so we did an event in Montana. We flew into Missoula, and for 4 days we did a retreat for veterans up in the mountains of Missoula, Montana, a place called Paradise Valley. And the whole premise behind this retreat, it's called PB Abate, is to honor the life and legacy of Sergeant Matt Abate, who is a Marine Corps scout sniper who was killed in Sangin Province, Afghanistan, while basically directing enemy fire so that he could help his platoon, and essentially was mortally wounded in the field of battle. As a way to, and I'll kind of rewind and kind of give you a backstory of how I got involved in the organization. I have a friend, I come back from Thailand, only in country for 2 days. I was over there training some Muay Thai. I was there for a honeymoon at the time, had a great experience, fell in love with the culture, the people, the food. Just an amazing place to be. If you guys haven't gone, I highly urge you to go there and support the Thai people. But I get stateside, wheels down, get a text message. Meet me at the Iwo Jima Memorial in 2 days from one of my best friends, Brian Coleman, Wilmington guy, and someone I used to, go to school with. So of course I meet him there, 1300, in front of the Iwo Jima Memorial. Unbeknownst to me, he's getting awarded the rank of major in the U.S. Marine Corps by his commanding officer, someone he served with overseas in Afghanistan, Tom Schumann. Went out that night, obviously, to celebrate my friend's promotion. And from there, kicked it with Tom, connected with him. Got a call about 3 months ago. Hey, this is, so-and-so from PB Abate. It was actually Nick, Chicago grappler. Shout out to you. Reached out to me. He said, Officer Schumann contacted me. We're running a veterans retreat. We'd like you to be part of it. It's going to be a fight club, so it's going to be martial arts themed. First two people I thought of was Tyler. Tyler then connected me with Nick, and then we all went out there as a group. Had a phenomenal group of about 14 servicemen, and started out each morning. Basically 0500 would make coffee for the camp. Everyone would muster. We'd rise. We'd do mindfulness, meditation. From there, we'd proceed to do jiu-jitsu, either gi or no gi, in the sweltering Montana mountain heat. And then we'd go down to Paradise Valley, and we'd swim in this amazing kind of refreshing, cleansing river all together. Lather the body with some beast wash, cleanse.
Yeah, you guys put a clip of that. You guys were bathing each other in there, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
He made it sound a lot cooler than it really was happening.
Nick would wash my back. I'd proceed to wash his, and then we talked about life afterward. That was honestly the highlight. But after that, we'd have lunch, and then we go back and we do either Muay Thai or Jiu-Jitsu again that evening. And just the connecting group of individuals that we had, you could tell it was a healing process. For me, it was completely, profoundly, positively transforming, and it came at the perfect time in my life. And I think for you guys, I want to hear about your guys' experiences. Tyler, then Nick.
Yeah, absolutely. I went out there thinking that, I was going to get to do some jiu-jitsu in a cool state that I'd never visited before. And, I really didn't want to do too much kumbaya-ing with a bunch of Marines, but or veterans in general. But it ended up being just a really great experience. Everyone was awesome. It just seems just like jiu-jitsu does. It attracted all the best people, right? And it just ended up being a great experience. We all just kind of shared a little bit with each other, and we're able to kind of grow again. And this is all because of martial arts or jiu-jitsu in general. So just a really cool experience and a great thing to be a part of. And, hopefully at some point we can give back in some similar way as well.
I've done a lot of veteran retreats. We run a veteran nonprofit as well. And so over the past 8 years, I've done a ton of retreats in different kinds. And what you typically have to watch out for is, and this was my concern with this one as well, was the sitting around, like Tyler was saying, the reason why he probably didn't want to sit around doing a bunch of kumbaya with a bunch of vets is because sometimes you can get this self-licking ice cream cone of, like you were talking about, like the Marine Corps didn't do me good. The VA is not good. The government doesn't care. The U.S. doesn't care about my sacrifice, and woe is me. And then all the violins come out, and it's like this gross negative bunch of warriors being a bunch of whiny babies. This is not what that was. This was it was awesome to talk about action. So a lot of this was maybe because of that was you have a bunch of jiu-jitsu practitioners there, and so we have this different base of being uncomfortable and growing and learning things. But even the fireside chats, we're talking about how do I fucking level up my life? How do I take what we and it was awesome. It was 15 of us, right? It's like 15 of us.
Yep.
So 15 guys sitting around in a circle sharing information about how we can take where we're at in our life and turn the volume up on it and move the damn needle. And how do I have a better relationship with my significant others? How am I a better dad? How am I a better jiu-jitsu player? How am I a better man? What am I need to do to not be the victim, but be the victor? And that's what I thought was a really great thing. So if anybody's looking into PB Abate, that was that was what was really cool about that thing was it was that the conversations were not about complaining as it was how do we enhance each other's lives and how do we become better men. And that's what I thought was one of the coolest fucking things of that trip.
Yeah, and kudos to you for actually kind of taking point on that, Nick, because I think it had a really good chance of going south in that direction, but you were able to kind of like take the lead on a lot of those conversations and point them in a positive direction, which I think was great. And hopefully that set the tone for the rest of those camps moving forward. You know what I mean?
I think like just starting the day off with jiu-jitsu, man, like it's hard to be a fucking victim when you survive brutal jiu-jitsu in the scorching summer heat.
Especially when you're mounting people, Gareth, in the scorching summer heat. You know,
Yeah.
Those gorgeous mountains behind us too, man.
Greg, let me tell you, by the time I would say 7 o'clock, those mats were like 150 degrees. We got mat burn on our feet, not from friction, from melting skin on the mats. It was that hot that early.
Oh, man. That's crazy.
I think a lot of that suffering though help, kind of bring us together though a little bit.
100%. Yeah.
And blood and sweat equity with one another, and it just empowered us to the point where there were no victims. We were all fucking. I will never call myself a warrior because I've never been a war, but we were all that warrior mind afterwards, and it was like I think everyone left the retreat with that never quit, die trying type attitude, and it's been great to keep up with guys like Dirty, who's run the last couple.
Yeah, I mean, Nick, you're in a real unique position here, and I just want to get to talk about that a little bit because I mean your podcast is awesome, but you're in a real unique position because you're training jiu-jitsu, you're in the community, Marine Raider, I mean all that. And I think, guys like Jocko, guys like Tim Kennedy, Jocko represented the SEALs, Tim Kennedy's Green Berets, but I've never really seen, Marine Raiders be represented in the way that you are. And I just thought that was awesome. But I think, you're in a unique position to have this, all become more to the forefront. And, a lot of people are going to be aware of this way more. Because I think you're in that specific spot where not only for, Marine Raiders, but military background, you're training jiu-jitsu, like those are the type of guys that are going to really bring all this to the forefront, just like we're seeing today. So you can talk about that a little bit and where you see your position in the growth of this awareness.
Absolutely. I actually was talking to Tyler and I share a lot, obviously I make a lot of videos about jiu-jitsu and I make a lot of videos about my life and my YouTube channel and everything. And, you get stupid people out there and be like, and I was making videos as a white belt, and they're like, oh, I love when white belts make videos. And I'm like, how don't you just shut the hell up? What are you doing with your life? But here's the reason why. And I appreciate you saying that is because I'm knocking on the door 40 years old. I am a beginner in the sport. Right. And, I have a host of injuries like any combat veteran does. Tyler's got just as many as I do as well. And what I feel that I am doing, and I have amples of comments and DMs and emails to prove it, is I am giving people permission to start something new. I'm giving you permission at 40 years old to go take a jiu-jitsu class. And most people go like, I'm old, I'm going to get hurt. I can't do this, blah, blah, blah. I'm out of shape. I'm overweight. And through my videos and through the information I'm able to share, I'm giving you permission to go try it. And I'm giving you permission. I mean, I've got a client who's an old recon Marine in the 70s. He was over 300 pounds. Now he's down to 205, 65 years old. And he is, that was it. He reached out to me and I said, listen, you don't have to, I don't care what age you are at. You don't have to live this way. I give you permission to go back to being a badass. And here's the roadmap to do that. And I think that's where I am able to offer some insight and offer some perspective on where we are all at in our age and our life and how we never peak. The best is yet to come. Always. Never peak. The best is yet to come.
Do you think people feel like they need permission? Because I think there's some people that don't naturally, and then there are people that really feel they need permission, and what's sort of the difference in the mindset? Because, you know, I think there's a lot of people out there that just, you know, they'll do it. And then there's other people that, like you said, need that permission.
I think majority of people are they're just stuck. You know, you got to look at it like, Brian, how old are you?
50.
50. So
Yeah.
how many times in your life at 50 years old, apart from jiu-jitsu, because you're gonna be a little bit different, but have you've gone through your life and you married, got kids?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So how many times have you gone through your life and a week's passed, a month's passed, and you're like, how have I grown in my life? Or I just did fucking Groundhog Day for a month.
Yeah. Well, you know, I mean, see, I'm a believer that it's always small gains, right? Whatever your goal is, you have to make small gains towards the goal. Like, you're always progressing towards the goal. I believe if you're not living your life like that, you're gonna be stuck, right?
Yeah. But even you, have you ever experienced a week where you're just like, you woke up, took care of the kids, went to work, took care of the wife, and at the end of the week, you're like, what did I even do?
Yeah. I think everyone does. Yeah.
Right. So that's where I think that sometimes we just get caught up in the Groundhog Day routine of being men and doing what we're supposed to be doing. But then what happens is you times that by decades. Mm-hmm. And then what? Now you're 35, 40, 45, and you're like, holy shit, man, I've taken care of all my people, right? But like, how have I taken care of this? Where is this? Where am I growing? Am I been uncomfortable? Am I trying to be the best version of myself? Mm-hmm. And I think that sometimes men get caught up, not sometimes, men do get caught up in doing the things that men are supposed to do. And then we forget that we are also supposed to grow and learn.
Right.
And we have to take care of ourselves as well. Because if I'm not the very best version of myself, then how can I be the very best version of myself for my tribe, for my community?
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, in essence, you're talking about self-care, right? So you have to put yourself first. In some situations, you got to put yourself first before you're able to take care of others, you know, which, you know, I think for most of us, one of the ways we do that is jiu-jitsu itself.
Right. Mm-hmm. So that was the biggest thing, is like, I do think that men need to go, hey, listen, it's okay to do something for yourself, because by doing that thing, it makes you better at the things that that you want to be doing in the first place. And this is where we're kind of getting into like my whole company now with the Agogi in our coaching business. But that's the foundation of it. The foundation of it is to make men better, to make the very best version of yourself.
Yeah.
You know, and it does. They need permission. Like, hey, I'm giving you permission, and I've got it I've got proof. I give you permission to go fucking move the money, go make more money, go have a better relationship with your wife, go be a badass dad, go be better at jiu-jitsu. I give you permission to go be a badass. And sometimes that's all they needed was to go, you're right,
a little push.
Go do this.
Yeah. I just think there's, you know, like, you know, just to reiterate that again, you know, guys like, you see Joe Rogan alone, you know, is probably responsible for how many people training. But now specifically guys like you, Nick, that have that background, in addition to just having a podcast and a guy who trains, you know, I think a lot of people got to realize that those are guys that are really important to be able to put all of this awareness to the forefront, you know, not only just with veterans and military, but just like you said, some people just need a kick in the ass. They just need the permission, you know, and the more we're on social media doing things like this, people can listen to this and give themselves permission to just go and try something new.
That's it. And all it takes is that one little shot. And that little thing that you just said, Greg, could be the spark that changes a man's life for the remainder until he dies.
Anybody you ask who does jiu-jitsu, anybody you ask who already trains jiu-jitsu, who's jiu-jitsu for, they're going to tell you they should tell you that it's for everyone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
There's nobody that should not be, you know, able to train. If you go somewhere and you can't, you know, you don't feel like you could train there, then you need to find a new place to train. But it should be for absolutely everybody. You know, we have members at our gym that are autistic. We let the father come for free, so that the he's like 17 years old, 18 years old, but so that he can feel comfortable and be able to train as well. You know what I mean? Whatever it is, you know, we'll try to accommodate, but jiu-jitsu should be for everybody.
100%. I mean, pre-COVID, I started a organization teaching kids with special needs martial arts. So, you know, I had a group of 5 gentlemen with Down. And, on a weekly continuum, I'd teach them in boxing. I'd teach them the benefits of TRX, put them through basic bodyweight calisthenic exercise routines. And it's amazing how quick they took to it and how proficient they were. And in a lot of ways, blew past some of my quote unquote what society would deem normal individuals. And fuck that, man. There's no limitation but your own self-limiting beliefs, right? And I would see this day out, and it definitely saddened me that I didn't have that sense of purpose. But the more I realized it, Craig and I had a chat at length through talking after jiu-jitsu Monday night, and we both tried to serve both in law enforcement. I've fucking applied to every branch of the military. I've been in most of the processes, and for reasons outside of my control, variables unbeknownst to me, and injuries, I never was fully accepted. I'm still in the fight to now try to in-process into the Army and law enforcement. But, there's so much benefit and there's so much service that can be gained and given through the art of jiu-jitsu. And I kind of, speaking with you guys today, realize that more and more. And so if nothing else, I feel a newfound wind in my sails to just help and benefit not only thousands but millions of lives through the arts and through just empowering people and giving them that ability that nothing is impossible and they can do whatever they put their mind to. And jiu-jitsu unlocks that ultimate human potential inside of us all. And so,
yeah, I think there's probably even there could be studies done where there's probably some chemical reactions going on, especially with maybe special needs, and where you can have that positive reaction or that positive exchange of chemicals and happenings or whatever the case is, so that we get to look at potentially replacing certain medications or certain things like that. We have parents come to us all the time. Their kid has ADHD and they're trying not to let them be on the medication all the time, so they train, and it's.
I've had multiple kids, not maybe kids, young men with that have been diagnosed, autistic at some spectrum, and they're like, "Hey, I've really thought about. I've been watching your videos, and I thought about doing jiu-jitsu, and I want to know your thoughts because I have this fear of touching and this and that, but I really think what it is cool, and I really want to try it, so I want to talk to you." So I told him, and I can get slammed on the internet for saying this, but I have this sneaky theory that some of the greatest jiu-jitsu players out there in the world right now, like the top guys, are slightly on the spectrum.
100%.
Because anybody that can use their brain that way and remember, and I'll just give an example, remember a specific technique on a day and time and place. And Gareth, you and I talked about this 6 years ago, and know exactly to the T, and then can react it 6 years later. I mean, there's some special sneaky skills in.
And I experienced this both with surfing too. When Tyler and I met, I worked for a charity organization based in Wilmington called Indo-Jack Surf Charities, and the main mission is to work with medically fragile children and empower them through the art of surfing. But we also had camps for kids who were born in Chernobyl and had levels of radiation, and for 2 years they would come to the United States. We teach them in a surf camp because it deregulated all of the damaging effects of the radiation. But we did camps for kids who were blind, kids who had auditory impairments. And the one thing that always fascinated me is, you take a blind kid and you put him out in the ocean, he would know when there was a wave coming for 5 to 10 minutes out. He would sense it. He'd be like, gee, I could feel the waves. There's going to be a big wave. There's going to be a big wave. And then lo and behold, 4 or 5 minutes later, there'd be the biggest set wave of the day. And although they couldn't see,
amazing,
couldn't hear, all of their other senses were then elevated. And so they had this unbelievable ability to plug in and tune into their environment. And it was a superpower, man. It was unbelievably impressive. And I'm like, here I am complaining because I failed the test. My girlfriend broke up with me, this, that, the other. These people aren't complaining about anything. They're not victims. They're empowered more so than I am, with full able body of my mind, body, and physicality. And who am I? I feel like a fucking pansy, ever, complaining when I see these kids. And a lot of them, these kids would not be able to stand up. So we, post up on them on the back of the foamy. I'd lift them up by their life jacket, and then we'd ride waves all the way into the shore. And the smiles, the reinvigoration, the power that it gave them, because for their entire lives they've been played the victim. Oh, you can't do that. You're special, or
you just turned a disability into a superpower.
Yeah, superpower. Exactly. And so
that's what I told the two guys that reached out to me. I said, hey, listen, just go slow. Go to a good place, and then communicate with the professor. Go slow, take one class at a time, and then go into it. And I said, and keep me abreast of the journey. And that's what it was, kind of, Brian, going back to it. Like, all it was me giving them permission to go try it.
Right.
And I told them, I said, man, some of the best guys out there, I think, that are on, right there with you. And I said, and he's like, and I explained, I said, it's like, I asked him, I said, do you like puzzles? Do you like solving things? And they're like, oh, of course. Like, I'm great at that. I'm like, that's all it is, man. Yeah. It's a physical puzzle. And once you start realizing that what it is, you're gonna be in. And they were stoked, and they're like, sweet, I'm gonna go try it. I'll let you know how it goes. I'll keep you up to date.
Right. Do you think most people, right? I mean, I think we know it. Like, everyone who does jiu-jitsu knows this, or they feel it, that the physical and mental, it's like a balance. And you become more stable as you have that physical activity, and that mental stimulus. You need both. You can't just be, like we were talking about earlier, on your phone all day. Like, you don't get that physical piece that makes you a well-balanced person.
Brian, I made a video about this, talking about the difference between endurance sports and jiu-jitsu. So, like, you can go on nothing wrong with people that like to go run for millions of miles and get in a runner's high. I never experienced that. Maybe that's why I'm not a runner. But when you go do those, say, like rucking, I did a lot of rucking. You can essentially turn your brain off and just go. Right? You're just going. And I can go on an hour-long ruck, burn a shit ton of calories, and not be as exhausted as I am after an hour-long, murder session with Tyler and Gareth. And I started talking to some of my other coaches about this, it's pretty simple, but what it came down to is you don't have the ability or the I don't know what you would call it, to turn your brain off. When Brian is trying, if he's a black belt and he's trying to kill me and I'm a blue belt, I don't get to just check out mentally and go through this roll. No, man, I'm thinking about every little digit, my elbow, my every, I'm trying to, every little thing, every hand placement where his feet are. Is he trying to, like, do his stupid shit that they always try to do and throw me all over the damn place? I don't have the chance, or the luxury is what I was looking, to just check out while my heart rate's at 175 beats per minute. It's got to be at 175 beats per minute, and I have to be 100% tuned in to every little thing happening with my body and their body. Completely different from just going on a run for an hour or going on a bike ride or something where you can kind of just tune out and get that kind of feeling. Like, you don't have that luxury. And I think that's the reason why, right there, what you were saying was you're so much more tuned into the present. What Gareth was saying at the beginning of the podcast, like, you're forced to be right there, right freaking there. And the only thing that I can tell you is I climbed Mount Rainier, and that was the first time I've ever experienced something to where you have to be in this misery moment. Like, you have to be right there, because you can't just check out and climb this mountain, because you're walking on a piece of ice this big. And if you slip, you're going down in the glacier and you're pulling your whole team because you're all tied to ropes. Like, you have to be like one step. So you're just in this, like, misery bubble. But guess what that means? You weren't thinking about shit else except what you had to do right then. And that's the same thing with jiu-jitsu. Like, you have no choice but to be completely physically exhausted and then present at the same time.
Yeah. And, you mentioned something else, right? In tune with the slightest movement, right? Because you feel someone start shifting the weight. You're like, oh, I'm going to get swept, or they're going to move me, or they're going to attempt something. Back to Garrett's point, that kid in the ocean who's blind and being able to feel the wave. Do you know what I mean? In jiu-jitsu, it's very similar. Like, you feel the slight motion of someone's body and they're turning into you, they're turning away from you, whatever. They're moving their leg, they're moving their arm, they've gripped your gi. It doesn't matter. You need to be in tune with that to sort of understand what's coming.
Yeah.
I know.
Brian, that's my whole life. Tyler rolls and he just closes his eyes. I'm like, how?
I do that a lot too. I'll close my eyes when I'm training.
You don't even have to have your eyes open when you roll with me. You're just like, okay, and and you're done, and we'll do it again.
Yeah, well, I just bring it back to you guys are like, just, we really appreciate everybody coming on. But yeah, I mean, that's a huge part of it. I mean, it's in the moment when you're getting choked and you cannot check out mentally. You just can't. No. You can't. You have to be in the moment, and that's the only thing that you can think about. Like, you're not thinking about the bullshit you dealt with the night before or that morning or whatever. So, but with that, before we forget, let's go through. I want to get Gareth, Tyler, Nick, just one at a time. Just shout out where everybody can find out more info about you, your handles, and all that. Let's start with Gareth. Gareth, where can everybody find your info? And
yes, for Instagram, which is my main social media outlet, is at GTH Consulting. Also have a website, GarethHoernel.com. From there, you can kind of see some of the coaching modalities offered, some of the jiu-jitsu trainings, some of the affiliate organizations that I work with. You can see about Roman Sanford, the executive and private security company that I partner and run with, and provide executive protection and security services kind of for the 1% out here in the eastern end of Long Island, Hamptons, New York City, as well as Miami. And then some of the organizations that I'm a part of, Adopt a Cop BJJ, which is a great organization which sponsors law enforcement officers to the rank of Jiu-Jitsu Blue Belt. So free training for those officers involved. Definitely check it out. It's a great cause and it helps save lives. Massive Supplements, company, veteran-owned company run by Mitch Aguiar, which is a premium supplement line. Also Liquid Death, great Austrian pure water source that I definitely urge you guys to all check out. Johnny Slicks hair products for this impeccable man mane. This doesn't come on natural, ladies and gentlemen. Without Johnny Slicks, it wouldn't look this good. And please reach out, phone number, email, would love to help any way I can. If you're a veteran or if you're anyone who's looking to find a local jiu-jitsu academy or just looking to get into training, please reach out to me. So thank you for your time, gentlemen. Really appreciate all you guys.
All right, let's see. Tyler, what do you got?
Yeah. So thanks for having me on. Number one, first and foremost, it was a pleasure. Great talking to all you guys. I'm down here in Hampstead, North Carolina at Crest Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. We're a Lucas Lepre affiliation. So we try to offer as premier jiu-jitsu as we can. We train hard. If you're in the area, just stop by. Love to train with you guys. My handle on Instagram is Tyler_Boone, BOONE, BJJ. So you can check me out on there. And then also I'm affiliated with Nick in the Agogi coaching and training program. So if you guys have any questions about that, please feel free to hit me up and we can chat in more detail there. It's a fantastic program to take your life to the next level. So feel free to hit us up. We'd be happy to talk to you about that as well. And, hopefully this can spark some interest in people to get out there and just find a gym, go train. It's for everybody. Take your kids. If they're not doing it, they need to be doing it. Bring your friends, your grandmother, doesn't matter. Just do it.
Awesome. And Nick.
All I got to say is I got freaking great friends. I don't have to say anything, man. Tyler took the Agogi. If you're a man out there wanting to be a better man, talk to Tyler. And then I got Gareth on Johnny Slick So Hard. I think he's married to it.
He's like a commercial billboard, man, just rotating through there.
I know, man. No, it's
watch out for that baby making though.
Yeah.
Flicks and the Beast Watch. Watch out.
That's a confirmed byproduct, right? Side effect, Nick?
Side effect, man. We've had 12 confirmed kids based off the scent of Johnny Slicks, man. Women smell that and they're just like,
yep.
Oh, I just need some of you in my life.
How do you think I got that daughter 2 years ago?
Tyler, know it yet.
But nonetheless, you can find me at my name anywhere. We've got a pretty large YouTube channel. We produce videos, the Harborside podcast, and then my two companies, the Agogi and Johnny Slicks. And man, I just appreciate you guys having me on. And And I absolutely just love these conversations. I think these long form conversations are what really is going to make an impact in our society, the way that we would like to see the impact being made. And it's the only way that we're going to do that is by rallying men and rallying our communities to be better. So thank you guys very much.
We appreciate you guys coming on. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you guys hang out for a couple minutes after we end the show, and make sure you guys subscribe, like, share, and make sure you guys keep sending us videos of you rolling, and this way we can have guests on the show, critique it for you in the future episodes to come. Check out jiu-jitsumotivation.com. This episode will be out within a week, and really appreciate you guys, and we'll keep this conversation going.
Greg, tell them this. This is what we're going to do. We want you guys to screenshot this podcast, whether it's video or whether it's whatever, screenshot it, put it up on your social media, tag us all, we'll share it all out. That's how this message is going to get out there.
Yeah, screenshot this, tag us up. We'll all reshare this, guys, as a group, and definitely want to get you guys back. Let's get back together as much as we can, just to discuss this, the current state of where everything is with jiu-jitsu and veterans, different events, anything that we can do. So
anytime, truly a pleasure.
October, real quick. Do you guys want to release any of that info about the October retreat, or
what's going on with that?
So we are running we don't have the thing, but if you go follow the Raider Project, we are running a 4-day, what are we calling it, Tyler? Jits and surf?
Something along those lines. We'll have to come up with something clever.
Yeah. So we're going to do a 4-day retreat for men to do some jiu-jitsu, do some surfing down here in Surf City, North Carolina. Gareth will be coming in to smash, or we're going to smash him. Yet to be
might take both of us, but
yeah, it might take all of us, but we're going to get it done. But yeah, so 4 days, about 8 to 10 men, similar to what we did in Montana, just to kind of learn, refresh, and talking about some of these concepts that we've been talking about how to be better, how to be a better version of ourselves. And we turn that volume up a little bit. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yep.
Awesome, guys. Once again, appreciate it, and keep in touch, and we'll see you guys later.
Thank you, guys.